Hey everyone, I'm JP Cole.
And I'm Julie Cole.
And we're the co-owners of Cole Wellness, which is a therapeutic wellness center located in Ballantyne, South Carolina, devoted to helping clients improve their lives through counseling and personal training. During the pandemic, we've been doing a lot of telehealth sessions, and slowly but surely we're opening up to one-on-one sessions for some of our clients. And we just wanted to thank you for watching and let you know we're still in business.
That's right. And we look forward to sharing this podcast with you, and want to remind you can catch up with us on all forms of social media at Cole Wellness or at info@colewellness.com.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm JP Cole.
And I'm Julie Cole.
One of the co-owners of Cole Wellness, and we are back for week 19,
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
of our Cole Wellness podcast, where we talk about all things mind, body, and spiritual wellness.
That's right.
Last week you did a really interesting one with some of your girlfriends at the campground.
That's
talked
right.
about Mother's Day.
That's right.
Happy Mother's Day to you.
Happy Mother. No, I wouldn't say that to you.
You can.
I will take that though. Thank you.
You can.
I got to sit around a lot last weekend. That was
did.
nice. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was a really important part of you becoming a mother.
Yeah.
Just saying, right? I mean,
this could get awkward real quick. So
it's after Mother's Day, so I can say things like that without getting beat up by everyone.
Now we're on the downhill.
We're on the downhill. We're getting closer to Father's Day now. So,
well, there's some people here.
There are some people here. We decided to have our pastor and his wife on this week to just kind of get to know them a little bit, and so we want to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves.
Yeah, it's more than just our pastor and his wife.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll pass that over to y'all.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'm Lindsey Cunningham.
I'm Nick Cunningham.
Hi, Nick.
Thank you for being on with us today, you guys. Like we told y'all before we kind of got started, what we really wanted to do was kind of bring y'all on and have an intro. Okay, we want to have y'all as a recurrent guest, and I know, because we know y'all that y'all can get into some really meaty topics and do it with, do it well with grace and honesty and transparency and authenticity, which is something that that I'm drawn to. So. Yeah.
And you're better at using longer than 4-letter words than I am. So,
except for when Legos are present, right?
Yeah.
Gotta have a thesaurus around. I can't even say it. But yeah.
So we wanted to give you a minute to. We kind of did a little awkward intro there, but if you guys would like to tell people a little bit about y'all, like who y'all are as individuals, how y'all met, and then we'd really love to kind of cover the basics of the Emmaus story too, since it's a really kind of new church.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm 36. You're 34? 34? Yeah. It's hard to keep up with. Married
that one right.
Yeah. Hey, we're so close together. Married for 11 years.
Awesome.
And we have 3 kids. 7.
Nope.
Roman's 7.
No, he's 8.
He's turning 8.
No, he's turning 9.
He was 7 before quarantine. Now he's.
Okay, we have an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
Oh, quarantine brain!
What year is it, Nick?
Like when Thursday? That's a joke. That was a really bad joke.
I think y'all got married in 2009, didn't y'all?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Y'all were real close to us, weren't you?
February,
yeah.
Yeah.
We're January 31st. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, we are actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I thought I remembered y'all doing a little like thing right after I had posted about ours, so I thought I remembered that. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
11 years, 3 kids. Been in ministry the whole time.
Yeah.
We've been married.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean it's been fun.
He's from the Midwest.
Indiana, go Colts.
I'm from the South, born and raised.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what part of the South?
Upstate, Abbeville.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember you telling me that.
That's right.
Thrill from the Ville.
That's right. Girl, I went to Chapin, so I know about some Abbeville. We played against y'all.
Yeah. It's a
old
cool
competitive spirit coming out.
That's right.
We spent our first 7 years of marriage in Ohio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ohio, which is just north of Cincinnati. We're part of an incredible church up there. and then we moved back. It's over 5 years now.
About 5
5
years.
years right now. So yeah, I've been back for 5 years. We have a huge heart for the Midlands. We've loved this. We've wanted to call this home pretty much the entire time. So the fact that we're here is still pretty cool. You know, it's like,
awesome.
you believe we're here. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a pretty cool place.
JP doesn't. He'd prefer the upstate.
I do. Yeah. But
That's, I'm from Indiana. Okay.
Yeah.
Indiana is the most boring place to live in the country. I mean, it is. If you've seen Stranger Things, like Stranger Things nails Indiana minus all the exciting.
I'm about to say that sounds kind of cool.
Minus the upside down world.
Yeah, but like just Indiana. I mean, you can't. There's nothing to do outside. The lakes have all the like farm runoff, so you can't get in the lakes unless you want to be polluted.
Poster child for Monsanto.
Yeah, I mean, it's just and so to live somewhere like South Carolina, where goodness, there's lakes everywhere. You can drive to the beach, got mountains, and then to hear people from the Midlands be like, "Oh, this place sucks." I'm like, go live in Indiana.
No, you're not selling it.
We actually have a couple that we love very much that just moved back to Indiana for their ministry. Yeah, so they were a part of East Lake with us when we were going there. And she was a pastoral counselor, somebody who was really
people in the Midwest are awesome. I mean, no, you have to be when like your geography and your weather sucks.
You got to be pretty cool when everything else is horrible, right?
You got to have the personalities as the draw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny you're talking about Ohio. I got it right down there. I picked up Jay's Search for Peace book the other day and started it again.
I forgot that you would. Yeah, you've run with him a little bit because he came down to some consulting.
Yeah.
That guy's awesome.
Yeah, he is.
Really.
And we can maybe link that so people know what I'm talking about. Jay Meyer.
Jay Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
Jay Meyer.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's really good. So, yeah. And how did y'all actually meet?
Well, that is actually a very long story, but we'll keep it condensed for Zoom podcast purposes.
I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this was, before I guess like dating apps were cool,
Yeah.
and so he stalked me on Facebook, sent me a message. That's not creepy at all.
Hold on.
were you still at Body Shop then?
They want to get to know us, so we got to give them some help.
Wait a minute.
I can't come off as a stalker.
Back with MySpace.
I was going to say, it had to have been MySpace if I'm doing the math. Because
That's what's up.
Tom, wasn't it Tom on MySpace? Was like everybody's friend. So my friend and I, we were interns at a church in the area, in the Columbia area. And MySpace had just become a thing. So all these high school kids were like, "You all got to get on MySpace." And we're like, "We know what this thing is." They made us a profile. And so my buddy and my roommate were sitting around one night. And we're like, "What do you do with MySpace?" And we saw
that Trevor?
Huh?
Was that Trevor?
It was Trevor. Yep. So they had like this search function, where you could like put in criteria. And so of course we were like, female. Christian, like all this different stuff. We're like search, and we came up with this. Just, I guess it was a challenge that young 20-something-year-olds come up with. They're like, okay, you got to pick a girl, and you're going to send her the corniest message. Period. You can't be trying. I guess be corny, right? Yeah. And the first one who gets a girl to write you back would win. And I picked her. So she never wrote back. Never.
What did you write, Lindsay?
I honestly don't remember. Not on MySpace. I remember the Facebook message, but not on MySpace.
Oh wait, so this goes on, and he actually ends up messaging you again.
No. Okay. So there was the MySpace attempt. Nothing happened, but then there's like that period where you have like MySpace and Facebook became a thing, but you kind of have both.
Yeah.
And of course, I'd see her. She's my friend on MySpace, so I'd see her put pictures up, and she looks good. I mean, she's good. And, so like, I don't know,
Wait, you sent her a message, but did you friend her during that time? I was curious how you were.
Well, yeah, I friended her too. So yeah, kept an eye on her, of course. But then I started to volunteer at this new church in downtown. Had a lot of young adults in Columbia, and I was just looking through their Facebook group, and I saw that she was in the group, and immediately felt like this knot in my stomach because I had just I did something on stage for worship announcements or something like that. And I was like, oh man, if she remembers me and that message, she's going to tell everybody, like, that dude's creepy, you know? And like, so I friend requested her on Facebook. And,
so I do little creepy stuff. And
if you're watching this, let me just reiterate that that doesn't work for most people. No. They don't end up married for 11 years with.
These are notes not to do. But, I was sitting there. I was sitting one night with Trevor again, and my roommate, and I was like, "Dude, remember my MySpace girlfriend? Look." She goes, and I'll never forget what he said. He's like, "I bet you won't message her again." So I did.
Yes, I will.
Little less creepy this time. It was just something short, but she actually wrote me back.
I did.
What happened from there?
So we messaged back and forth for like a week?
It's maybe 10 days or so.
Maybe. We got each other's numbers. And also, disclaimer, I did my background research on him because we had a lot of mutual friends.
Right.
And so I reached out to some of those mutual friends and I was like, hey, what do you know about this Nick Cunningham guy? And they're like, oh, he's great. And
totally not a creep.
I was like, okay, maybe he's not creepy. And then we met up at a Starbucks actually for our first date.
Yep. And everything went fast from there. I mean, it was fast.
Super fast.
Yeah. We dated for
10 months?
10 months. We got engaged.
For 3.5.
3.5 months. We got engaged. The day after we got engaged, I moved to Ohio.
Oh, wow.
To start working at the church. And engagement was short. It's 3 months.
Yeah.
And then got married, and she moved, she left her honeymoon. Honeymoon. We drove to Ohio, and I moved a girl from South Carolina to Ohio, and
in the middle of the winter.
Yeah.
I have never seen that much snow in my life.
Boy, she loves you.
Yeah. It's about a year for her to realize what I did.
And then she's like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, our whole dating relationship was long distance. So on the one hand, everybody's cool when you only see them once a week, right? And then, so now we're living under the same roof. That first winter was like, oh, wow, this is snow. This is cool. Second winter was like, this isn't cute anymore, and you're annoying. So yeah. The second year was interesting. But,
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's awesome. Too funny.
Right.
That's funny. So I'm glad to know that I wasn't the only one that was stalked.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, the pros, that's how we do it.
You got to stick your neck out there.
Yeah. I was hoping that as you talked more about that, it would defend the argument against you being a stalker. But the longer you talked, the more it sounded like that. That's okay. It worked out.
And it's gotten me in trouble, but then it's worked out.
Yeah.
Here's the why not? That's the motto. Why not?
Right.
So
That's right.
Why not? Look, here she is. So.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to resort to cutting out letters from the newspaper and send it.
You didn't do that, did you?
No.
Everybody's gonna be like, so now tell us about this church.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm okay with words. That was helpful. You didn't have to sit across the table from her. I could just, think about what I wanted to say. And then I impressed her, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, she did her background work.
Yeah.
I did.
Yep.
JP's awesome. Reputation was working against him.
Oh yeah. So you'd already known. Okay. You
different podcast. Yeah.
I had literally 4 months before we went out on our that's a whole podcast about how we could talk about how that unfolded. But I literally had warned a friend of mine that he was a player just a little while before that. And then I had to circle back around and be like, so listen, I don't want this to be awkward because I know y'all went out a few times, but guess who I'm dating? And she just started laughing at me. And she was like, no, that's funny. And here we are. 11 years, like however.
We first started dating, Julie was like, I know her. And I'm like, who? And she said the name, and I was like, anyways, next topic.
And here's a funny for you. We knew each other because of the rooms, right? The A room or the fellowship, 12-step fellowship. And we were both on committees for this young people's conference, and that's how we first met. And he would always shut down the dance floor with me and my friend Laura. And after we first started dating, we're out one night with some friends having dinner. I was like, let's go dance. He's like, I hate dancing. I was like, what? You don't hate dancing? He was like, I was always trying to get your attention. I was like, he was always the dude who shut down the dance floor with us.
Do what you got to do.
Was he good?
No.
He can actually dance. He just doesn't think he can.
Yeah.
No.
What's your go-to move? Like, what's, when you got to fill time, what's your go-to move on the dance?
Not fall down.
And then he's really like into it if he's swaying like this.
This is me at concerts now.
He posts up like a security guard, like a bouncer.
I start having people ask me where things are.
Oh man.
Anyways.
Yeah. So anyway, so y'all were in Ohio. Y'all came back here, and then tell me a little bit about kind of where the idea for Emmaus came and kind of that developmental process. Emmaus is the church you pastor. I need to be clear because we didn't really tell y'all that well in the beginning, and it's went through a new launch in January. So I mean, it's a relatively new church. But you and I met a number of years ago when you were pastoring at another church that supported a nonprofit I was the director of.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of parallel stuff we'll keep off of this podcast. No, that's something we can get into burnout and like learning to trust your identity through we can talk about all the issues, but there was definitely a parallel process that you and Nate kind of kept me sane through that because y'all were the ones who reminded me that I wasn't crazy.
Yep. Man, isn't that a gift when you come across kindred people?
Absolutely.
That's something that I've been appreciating more and more lately. Is just like whenever you everything nowadays, I feel like it's so much easier to pick sides, like to go to an extreme, you know what I mean, or whatever it is. And like when you don't do that, you just feel so lonely, and you almost feel like you start to wonder, am I wrong for not picking a side? And so just those times when you do come across somebody who's kindred and who's trying to stay in the middle, oh man, it's such a gift. So
absolutely.
Yeah, more and more things. Like that.
Well, I have to say that through all of that too, like I had, Lindsay's writing was because y'all were in that season together, and so she was writing it from her perspective, and the post, I remember very distinctly the post you wrote, Lindsay, about the season of being held and how that just, I can't remember how much that meant to me to feel that I was in that space and somebody else put words to what I literally could not put words to because I felt so lost and buried in the moment. So, and I still relate to your writing a lot. And for anybody who's interested, Confessions of a Pastor's Wife, right?
Yeah.
So Lindsay has her own blog on Facebook, and then you can follow her on Instagram at that, at the Confessions of a Pastor's Wife, correct? I want to make sure I have that right. Okay. Yeah. So.
But you cannot be followed any longer on MySpace, correct?
I think you can still go back to your old page and see the shell of it. Wouldn't you love to see what song you left off with?
Oh yeah, what dramatic lyrics you put up while you're away on your instant messenger too?
That's right. All right, so back to the Emmaus story.
Yeah.
Well, Emmaus was, I guess, for me. I had this sense from a young age, late teens, early 20s, I was so captivated by this idea of starting something new. This is going to sound way romantic than it actually is, but I always felt kind of identify with Greatest Showman, Moana, that movie Moana. But just this sense there's something out there, right? There's this thing you want to do, this new thing, I guess. like I said, that sounds way romantic, but it actually is. But I've always been drawn to that. I had a sense that I wanted to start something from scratch, you know, and the actual shape of it, I guess, is something that developed, you know, much later and kind of all throughout my time in ministry. But I think I always knew that was going to happen, you
right?
know? And so we had this awesome opportunity. We first got married to go be a part of just this phenomenal church in Ohio, Ginsburg United Methodist Church, the worst name on the planet. Nobody knew how to say it right, you know. But it's amazing. I mean, I've never been a part of something that's made as much of a difference in its community, in the world. I mean, there are like thousands of people who are alive today in every way, shape, or form because of that place. I mean,
right. They have a huge recovery ministry.
Yeah, massive recovery ministry. And they did a thing on Saturday nights called Next Step. It was birthed out of a Celebrate Recovery group. It kind of became a whole other thing. Yeah. But I remember, man, there were times where you'd see 300 or 400 people on a Saturday night who were somewhere, you know, on the road to recovery. And it was incredible. I learned so much there. I mean, to use a church word, we were discipled there. You know, like really, that's really where we kind of got some clarity around what does it mean to actually to follow Jesus. You know, to move from what our pastor used to call like easy believism to like radical discipleship. You know, where you take on a kingdom of God worldview and all. I mean, it got into our blood. You know, and but the whole time we were there, and I talk too much, so I really want her to be able to jump in.
Oh, it's good, Jim.
And say something. The whole time we were there, though, we kept feeling this tug back south, you know. And I served as their high school pastor there for a little while, but then I became what they called the teaching pastor. The senior pastor there was getting close to retirement, and so they were looking for, you know, transition to new leadership. And there was an opportunity to stay and kind of grow in leadership. And so we were confronted with like, you know, do you want to put roots down here or is it time? And that's where that church plant kind of calling and desire was really important, because I think I knew in the back of my mind that if I were to stay and be a part of something, even as amazing as it was, there would still be that like, oh, you know, like what's out there, you know, what if you did this? And so I think we knew, like, as amazing as an opportunity as that was, like we felt like there was something else, and we started feeling really pulled back to the Midlands. Do you want to talk about some of that? I mean,
you're doing great.
Okay. I thought it was interesting. You know, I'm from the Midwest, and she's from South Carolina. So, living in the Midwest, I think one of the things that, you know, she saw was how much middle class there is in the Midwest. I mean, it's predominantly middle class. Of course, you've got extreme ends, but it's just a big middle. And being a part of the church we were a part of, and, you know, starting to see the world the way that we did, when we come back to South Carolina to visit family, you'd start just noticing things maybe you didn't notice before. And I think especially for Lindsay, there's a lot of disparity in South Carolina. You know, and not just at one layer of our society, like all sorts of layers. There's disparity when it comes to socioeconomics. There's disparity racially, and it's all tied together, right? You know, education system, the way women are treated. You know, like there's churches everywhere. Yeah. You know, and so not that we ever wanted to feel like we're going to come down here and fix it all, but we felt these two things at the same time. One, like this deep love for South Carolina, the people of South Carolina. There's so much about the state that we love. And also feeling like this fierce discontent with it, though. Just kind of like, ugh, you know? And I don't like that just started to grow and become more clear. It was like, we feel like we're supposed to go back to the Midlands. And so we resolved that in our own spirit, but then we were kind of waiting for like an opportunity, you know, to come back down here. We didn't know what part of the city, we didn't know any of that. And so this opportunity came about to come and be a part of a church that I actually served at when I was in college, at the Bible College in Columbia, and had an opportunity to go there and take on a role for them. And two things, it was great. And on the one hand, got a chance to really serve this church and kind of help them transition into a new season of their life, as they were growing and wanted to do some new things that I kind of learned where I was at previously. And so, that was a win. At the same time, it gave us a chance to kind of come back down here and like relearn Columbia after being away for 7 years. And so we did that. And I would say that was a really rich time. I mean, we fell in love with the people, of this area and that church. And, but I'd also say that was the season when I think some of how do I say this? Like the shape of Emmaus Church really started to become clear.
Yeah.
So like in terms of what we hoped it would be. And some of that had to do with maybe some of the tension with where we were too, like as amazing as it was and all that kind of stuff, we just felt ourselves being pulled in a different direction. Some of the things that were central to us weren't central there, and so that just creates an interesting environment where I think you're also able to get some clarity, around like, okay, this is what matters most to us, And so I would say during that time, not only were we able to just relearn Columbia and maybe flex some muscles we hadn't yet, and especially for you, some opportunities with women's ministry. We also got a lot of clarity around who we wanted to be as a church. So we were there for a little over 4 years, and actually a year ago, it was right at a year ago, we made it clear that we felt ready. I mean, that was something that we talked about at the very beginning, that ultimately we wanted to plant a church in the area. And as soon as we knew when, we would let you know. And so that whole process started about a year ago. Right. And it wasn't perfect. The process, the transition wasn't perfect for lots of reasons. But it was a lot faster than we probably thought it would be. But Emmaus is crazy. I mean, it was last summer, people started meeting in our home just to hear more about it, kind of what we were hoping to do, what it was going to be like. And then we started a Bible study in the fall. And then in January, we started with worship. And so it's been 4 months, and half of that's been virtual. So it's an interesting start, So that was a lot. I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
That's awesome.
It's good stuff. And it makes me think of, I'm rereading Present Over Perfect right now. And I know y'all drew a lot of inspiration from Shauna Nyquist, especially her concept of her gathering space, right? And so there's I know for you, there's some parallels because she was raised as the daughter of a mega church pastor. Yeah. And had always heard of this kind of concept of like the dinner table, the gathering space, but never had experienced it because of the mega church. Right. I know that was something that was a big thing for you too, because one thing that people probably that don't know is that both the churches you pastored at were considered big churches. They were mega style churches. And so
we got a kid who's about to get severely taught.
You know what, kids?
Do it on camera. We can use this for
don't go to the basement, do it right here.
Yeah. So, and so I think that's one piece is that you really want to bring back that that concept is just like that community. Yep. And then, in real authentic community. And so you've really done, and we could always dig into this later. I mean, that in and of itself is its own topic. Yeah. But then I think there's also the piece for you guys of not creating a church that's a sustainable structure of its own, but more a community-based thing. And the worship piece is a part of that, but it's a service-minded, mission-minded, community-based, and that, even if you never have the building, you want to live out the mission, even though the building was great to,
nailed it. Nailed it. I think I've only served at what you'd call mega church, which is thousands of people. And we've seen the good side of that, and we've also seen, and I think even all the leadership at the churches would agree with that. There's always a shadow side, right? I mean, for every positive, there is a shadow to it, and where with megachurch, the reach and the ability that something like that has, when you get all the same people focused on similar issues and using the resources, you can do a lot of amazing things.
Yeah. Right.
I think. And I remember having this great conversation with my former pastor in Ohio, who's still one of my mentors and heroes. And he would even agree that, early on, this church was more of a movement than it was anything else. There was this exciting thing happening and all this stuff going down, and then it got successful, and somewhere in the middle of that success, it's the shift goes from how do we pursue this crazy dream to how do we keep this thing afloat? How do we keep it successful? And somewhere in there is, I think, when like the heart of a movement can start to die a little bit.
Right.
And so being aware of that, was just going into it. I want to be laser focused on what our role in the community is. Churches can sometimes get so broad, where they're the entertainment center for their community. They're the, whatever. And
all things to all people.
Yeah. And so what's hard is then you got to hire people to do it, and you got, I don't know. So we just want to be very simple, I think, when it comes to what we do. Am I missing anything? You good after disciplining that child?
Whew,
Ooh, I saw her get up, and I was like, somebody's about to get snatched.
You want to talk about it?
You can ask next time you talk to Joanna. Ask her about last weekend and the kids getting in the ocean when they were with her.
So I really liked how you described, because it makes a whole lot of sense to me. Coming back to South Carolina, seeing there's churches everywhere here, seeing this huge amount of disparity, knowing that you feel called to create this important, purposeful new thing for yourself, but not because necessarily other people are doing it wrong, but because you feel that there's a story that you want to tell. What are some of those things? Like that was one was the gathering, the table, the being focused on service first. But what else do you feel is y'all's message that you really want to capture with Emmaus, that you want to do different or new, or that?
Yeah, what's the heart of it?
I'd love for you to speak into that. I'll go first, but be thinking about it. She's got lots of good things to say. My wife we're very different. She's I'm the one who talks all the time. She doesn't, but when she does, it's like, ooh. So give you some space. One of the things for me is, like, I describe it as I want it to be a place where people can breathe. I've always been curious. I can't help it. I'm just curious, and my faith, I love how Rachel Held Evans describes her faith is all like knees and elbows and kicked up dust and fury. And that's me. Like, it's just all of my favorite things. I didn't like them at first. I'm that analytic, skeptical person. And I've grown up in the church. And so it's like, there have been so many times like I want to quit you, but I can't, and I haven't always felt like there's been space for people like me in the church. And at the same time, I do think the church in our part of the world is in the midst of a renewal movement. Like, I think God's doing something new. Trouble is, everybody who's a part of that at first gets labeled as a heretic, right? I mean, look throughout history, that's kind of how it goes. But I think the church has lost some of its, I'm going to use some cliche words, it's lost some of the mystery. It's lost some of the imagination. It's sort of snuffed out its curiosity. And it's gotten so fixated on certainty and right belief and right thinking. But man, you look back throughout history, and people leading the church were often their minds were massive, in the ways they understood God and what God was doing in the world. It was so big and wide. And so that being said, we're actually talking about this weekend in worship is that we want to be a place where curiosity is championed. Where we're constantly looking for new angles. And new ways of understanding what it means to follow Jesus, who we're wrestling for a bigger, more inclusive understanding of who God is, not to undermine our faith, but like to not grow bored with it. Like to stay in all of it,
I think for like you and I have had this conversation too. Like, one of the things I love about Shauna, she really kind of wants to bring she's like, I want a space where I can have like the, new age revival of of a community church mixed with the mystery and longing of a liturgical church, and I really love and appreciate that that's something that you guys are trying to bring to the table, because you do come from more of a liturgical background from the UMC faith. And so So if you're interested in leaning into that too, because that's something that I think we seek. Like, we don't get into this a lot here, but we've been really involved in a community church, and we've been really involved in the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. And then what we really are seeking is, a little bit of both, right? Yep. I want to be able to throw my hands up and sing and cry, in a service, but I also want somebody who, when I seek answers, guides me to my spirit, to the mystery of the spirit, not to certainty and shame.
The sacraments are about encounter. That's what they are. I know a lot of people who grew up in a more liturgical background. Sometimes it's like rote. Yeah, it's like, it's just you did it last week. For those of us who grew up in community churches, and then you experience liturgy, you're like, whoa, or you experience, some of that more tradition. And I think what so many people are hungry for now is encounter. It is it's experience. And I think for me, that's what keeps me holding on anyway. Mm-hmm. There are these moments in my life where I encounter God. And I can't explain it away, when I look at what he's done in my life, how God has shaped me and grown me and changed me. My doubts can't touch that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, what we want to usher people towards, we want to create space for questions and doubts. We want to, of course, we want to be curious, but more than anything, we want to be creating a space and opportunity for you to encounter God. Mm-hmm. And encourage that, facilitate that. And so I definitely think liturgy, sacraments, they can be super helpful. I'd encourage you to check out, there's a church in New York right now, the Good Shepherd. And
I was looking at them the other day.
Their online virtual service is beautiful.
Is it Good Shepherd?
New York.
I think it's a Episcopal.
Okay. I was going to say, that's a liturgical name.
It's a Tribeca. It used to, they just changed the name. It was like Tribeca something, and then now it's goodshepherdnewyork.com or something like that. But yeah, I had somebody else recommend that to me.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm glad you brought this up, though, because I think that kind of put words for me to what I'm so attracted to about Emmaus and have been from day one. Has been, and we've shared with you a little bit about our own kind of spiritual journey and the importance to me of encounter and experience and not tell me but show me. Mm-hmm. And I think that the words that just came to me was that the fact that what I've been craving is a place to be able to continue experience God's writing and his authorship and his creation, realizing that this wasn't just okay, this happened, so I want to go to a place and find out what he used to say and what he used to write. Yeah. And realizing that this story is still being written, that we're still a part of what God is doing in the world, and I want to be a part of that.
And he created us to be a part of that, and sometimes for me, the wrestling and the doubting and all of that actually helps me fine-tune that vision, the belief. I mean, I actually what I'm deconstructing now, this concept that surety actually gets me lost, Mm-hmm. I mean, surety of a belief construct, not the spirit itself.
Certainty. Yeah. Certainty reduces God to idea.
Sure.
And not being, not you know what I mean? Yeah, and I love, the nation of Israel, people of God. Christianity was birthed out of, Israel. Israel's named after a guy who wrestled with God. Mm-hmm. Jacob, he wrestles with God. God breaks his hip. And one of my favorite details is Jacob walks away from that encounter and he limps. I'm actually reading Frederick Buechner. I can never say that right. Buechner. He has this great narrative on the life of Jacob. It is, so good. Mm-hmm. But he limps the rest of his life. And so I'm just sitting here thinking somebody who's really wrestling with God, with the big things in life, they don't walk around sure of everything. they walk with a limp, and
they got beat up a little bit.
That's I think I've shared with you it's compelling for me because I can remember being in a small group at a church And JP and I, like, we come with real transparent, like, we're just authentically who we are, right? And we'll share a good, bad, or, extremely inappropriate. We'll just put it out there. And I can remember us being part of this. That's right. I can remember I laughed because y'all were talking about launching small groups. And I'm like, ooh, because our last small group experience was like, we blew that thing.
It was awesome, and it was
amazing.
Difficult. Yeah.
It was awesome. But we had some people in there that were struggling with some things that they were not being forthright about. There was some, dishonesty in some of the people there. And our authenticity blew it up. Mm-hmm. Like it was just a stark contrast, and it was like it was very it had a lot of tension. Mm-hmm. And so to be in a space where the ideal is to come to the table with those, wrestling with that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when he asked me to speak, I was thinking, this isn't necessarily a part of like our, what do you call it? Your core convictions or whatever. But when I was thinking about the church and just personally what I want to see it be is the place of refuge.
Yeah.
That was one of the interesting things when we had people come to our house, and Nick started off the night with asking people, what are your memories of church, whether good, bad, ugly, whatever. And I guess one of the sad things is most people had something ugly to, hear about the church, how they've been hurt, wounded, whatever. And, like we all have been. Like, she's not perfect. The church is not perfect. And I guess, Emmaus is not going to be perfect. We're going to hurt people. We're going to screw up. But I think what people are longing for is an encounter, but also just a place for them to be seen. Mm-hmm. And, to be held, just like what you were talking about, and to be able to experience that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we have this crazy thought that a group of people who actually cared about each other, like cared about each other, that that vulnerability you're talking about, we want that to be normal. Yeah. Like some of our closest friends we have this group of people, and it all started because one couple's marriage was exploding. But they invited us all into it.
Yeah.
And like we didn't know each other before that real well.
Right.
But they asked for help. And I remember like a year later, we were walking with them, walking through this with them. We weren't really sure how it was going, honestly, from our perspective. It didn't look like it was going real well. But they invited us over about a year later, and in the backyard, they had this big table set up outside with a bunch of food. I think Parenthood, if you ever watched the show Parenthood, sort of looked like lights, beautiful.
Yeah.
They had us all over to let us know that the husband was moving back in. Mm. He had moved out. They've been separated. He was moving back in. And like they wanted to just thank us for being involved, And I remember sitting there thinking, I was like, I want to be a part of a church where this is normal.
Yeah.
Like where this is not some, not peripheral thing, but like where this level of authenticity and needing each other, like is normal. And I don't know that I've always experienced that, in the church. So
right. That's really good.
Yeah.
If people want to, so I think that's a good wrapping point. I mean, we've been, I want to be able to dig in, because there's definitely a lot we could dig into. I mean, I could just go back and make some bullet points from what we talked about today.
I will have your MySpace pages pulled up by then.
But I want to ask you, do y'all mind sharing with people how they can find you, so that, and we'll get Scott to put it up on the screen and tag it on our on when we post this, but just share with everybody where they can find you.
The Emmaus Church stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can find us on Facebook at Emmaus Church SC. The SC is important.
Yeah.
We are also on Instagram. You might have to help me on this.
It's the same thing. I think it's Emmaus Church _SC.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Emmauses out there.
Should I tell them? Do you remember the story about Julia when I told you about when we were coming home from church one day? She said, Mommy,
Oh, yeah.
Mommy, remind me of the name of that church. I said, Emmaus. And she said, Emmaus?
Emmaus?
Emmaus.
Perfect. Close enough. Yeah.
The guy calls us Emmaus, which sounds like, it's like some rave DJ or something. Emmaus. We got a website, EmmausChurchSC.com. Yeah, we're in the middle of a series right now where we're just trying to put words to the heart and soul of Emmaus. And so great time if you're interested, curious to check it out. Yeah, we're having tons of fun. I mean, we have zero idea what we're doing in a lot of ways, but
y'all are killing it, man.
Yeah.
You talked about Good Shepherd doing a good job. We've thoroughly been enjoying y'all's recordings.
Thank you very much.
Seriously, last week was awesome.
Cool.
We really got a lot out of that. We were watching that on the way back from our camping trip, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing an excellent job.
Yeah. Well, we're having fun, and I love the tribe that's coming together. Just the people, the collection of people, and it's been fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Well, I look forward to having you guys on here again, and just thank you for taking the time to connect with us. I know we gave you a really short turnaround.
Yeah.
On Monday.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we really appreciate your time today. And Lindsay, next time we're going to let you talk, and we're going to silence him. Okay?
Yeah. We need to get y'all two talking, and then we will record Nick and I having the greatest time ever, and we'll post that as well.
The whole time they're talking.
No, we thoroughly appreciate you guys. We love you very much. We're so thankful for what you're doing. Thank you for being on here with us. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we kind of wrap up?
No, I mean, what y'all are doing, hey, you got this community, the world needs y'all's voice, whether it's this experience you've been through, it's the posture y'all have, everything. So keep it up. It's an honor to be part of it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Yeah. And we look forward to throwing y'all back on here soon.
Yes.
All right,
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I hope y'all have a great afternoon. We can't wait till we see you in person.
Yeah.
Lindsay, I'm not even going to steal one of those hugs you don't like to give, but you'll give anyway.
And Nick, not to make it weird, but I do miss your calves. So.
You remember?
I remember. No, for real. First time we showed up to church with you guys for the Bible study, we're dropping the kids off, and I hear this. Those are amazing calves. I'm like, I've never felt so good being recognized by another man. It felt amazing. Thank you. And and when it comes from somebody else with great calves, it means something. So.
Well, it's genetic, man.
No, we work hard for those things.
Guys doing shrugs and calf races, and I'm like, stop.
Sorry, brother. Ain't gonna work. Anyways, thank you guys so much. This has been the Cole Wellness Podcast. You can follow us at colewellness.com, where all of our blogs and podcasts are there.
Yep.
All forms of social media. Thank you again. Love y'all. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Guys, thank
Bye.
you.